Hello, Sofia. Thank you for having me. The title says you're using them wrong, or maybe you're not using them at all, and I will guide you through the reason why you should use them. A quick word about me. I'm Giovanni. I work for a government agency in Italy. I've been using Rails for like 12 years now, and I've been working on applications that have been growing for 12 years. So they're getting huge. And most of the things I will say to you today comes from my knowledge, from my experience. I also run a small Ruby consultancy business, and I co-founded a software as a service for HR Italian laws. And in my free time, which is very little, I maintain two open source projects, two engines, which are Active Storage Dashboard and ActiveCanvas, that I will introduce you later on the talk. So when I first sent my proposal for the talk, I had a different idea. I wanted to guide you through how to build an engine, a very technical talk. I wanted to show you the best way to create an engine, to structure it, where to put your files, and how to write the clean code. But then I realized something very important, something that is changing. Building an engine is not the hard part anymore. Today, most of you can ask to your AI assistant of choice to create a Rails engine, and it would do a great job. Well, at least they say so. But since the main skill it's not the problem anymore, the real question is why we are not using engines so often? And I mean in very old apps where you need to extract and make them more maintainable. So the real questions and the real talk you're getting today, it's not how to build an engine, but more like why you need engines. Maybe you already felt the problem in your career and you haven't named it yet. Or maybe you didn't felt it yet, but I want to give you a tool in your toolbox in case you're gonna come to the same problems I had in my way. So the goal of software architecture is to minimize the human resource required to build and maintain the required system. This is one of the most quoted people in software architecture, and it's Robert C. Martin. And the idea here is very simple. A good architecture is not about writing the clever code or making the code you write look enterprise. It's about having human time, saving human time. So if you or your team can make changes faster, the architecture is helping here. If your team or you is afraid of making changes, afraid of upgrades, this is not a code problem, it's an architecture problem. And it may look technical, but the real cost is human time. So you may have already experienced some of these issues I'm talking about. You, for example, hate changing things in your applications. You are afraid of upgrading the Rails version, or you cannot easily bring new people into the project. Or even more, when you add code, you just pray it doesn't break everything. So the cost of changing software does not grow linearly. It grows faster and faster, and as the app gets more complex and big, it's usually what we think is the app is just getting bigger, this is normal. But this is not normal, it's a design problem, and every commit can make it worse. So the point is, it's not that you are experiencing the imposter syndrome, it's called coupling. Coupling means that parts of your code depends too much on other parts. And so you cannot change something without changing something else. And this is what makes a lot of legacy projects a nightmare to work on. So we try to solve the problems, organizing our code in folders. It can be services, commands, queries, depends on the pattern you're using. But folders are just categories, and they organize your file by type, while what we're looking for is to create boundaries that actually enforce the division you're making. So you're gonna be able to change some code in your app without having to change something else. So what's an engine? Straight from the Rails engine class definition in the Ruby on Rails documentations, a Rails engine allows you to wrap a specific Rails application or a subset of functionality and share it with other applications. Or within a larger package application, every Rails application is just an engine, which allows for simple feature and application sharing. So what's an engine? It's a Rails app inside your Rails app. Nothing fancy, nothing new. It's the Rails app that every junior Rails developers already knows. It has all the same folders, but it gives us something more. Every engine, for example, comes with a specific gem set. And cross-calls engine comes to a defined public interface that you're going to define. So you decide what to expose. When you open, for example, engine notifications in my application, you see 20 files. And this is something you can hold in your hand, and it's very easy to understand, and it's very easy to, if you need to hire someone, to onboard them on 20 files. When you open the average Rails application that has been going for 5 or 10 years, the app models folder alone is over 100 files. At that point, you cannot really read the code. You search through it, and this difference is the value. The cost of opening a folder is part of what costs you the much. So engines can reduce that cost. So we've named the problem, and we saw what engines are. And we know the problem is coupling. And engines are just a smaller version of your Rails app. So what actually engines can do for you? As I was mentioning before, you have independent dependency. This means that each engine you build can have its own dependency. So the building engines can have Stripe or Monorails, and while the notification system can have Twilio and Postgres, and those dependencies stay close to the code they use. So when you open the billing gem spec, it's very easy to see what billing needs. And another premium benefit is that you don't have to ask anymore. It's is this gem still used somewhere? Or you cannot remove a gem because you don't know if you're breaking something. Another benefit of using engines to modularize your monolith is to expose methods to have everything that needs to interface to that module through your public API. So you cannot break things while you change something. It can be billing, fine invoice. It can be to charge someone. Everything stays in the billing engine, and it's open to the host application through a defined method you have written and you have tested. So this is where the boundary comes to feel real. And with this, test gives confidence, and tests start making sense again, because let's say in your monolith you have to change the invoice model because you've been told or you decided to add a discount code. You change the code, and the billing test pass in your monolith. And then you run the whole test suite, because we are all a responsible engineer, and we have a bunch of failures given by the change we made. And neither of these changes are actually billing responsibilities. So with engines, when you test and your test pass, you are sure that you can mount that engine and have no failures whatsoever, because you decided and you exposed the public API for that methods. Sorry, I'm kind of rushing because I've been told we're very late. This is not really like a technical pays-off, but it's more about organization and team. So when everything lives inside your applications and you have a team of more people working on it, two developers working on different tasks very often iterate over and over on the same files. And this creates a nightmare of merge conflicts, and code reviews are very difficult now, and you don't really want to. Pull requests become spread across the whole application. With engines, we can parallelize the work. So while an engineer works on the billing engine, another one can work on the notification system without never cross-path each other. So onboarding gets easier too. This is why engines are not just a design pattern, architectural pattern, but they are also a way to organize better your team and your work. Finally, in case it's necessary, to prove that engines really works, and they're not new to the Rails, they are part of the Rails system for version 3.1, I think. They're not for huge enterprise applications, and you probably use them since you started Rails projects. Device is an engine. Doorkeeper is an engine. Avo, our sponsor, is an engine as well. So if the pattern is good enough for the most used gems in the ecosystem, I think it's good enough for your building module. Okay. I would be a liar if I'm saying that engines are the solution for everything. I don't mean that. I just want to give you a tool in your toolbox in case you need it. There are very much cases where engines can actually hurt your development, and those are like, if your app is too small, you don't really need to modularize anything. Or if you have an app, and this one, I think it doesn't exist, but if your app is just a tight CRUD, so you're just working on a very specific small domain, you don't need an engine for handle this complexity. And if your code is full of like join across different models, active record models, you probably don't need it. If your data want to stay together, just keep them together. And the worst one is to optimize before optimization is needed. So wait until you feel the pain, and then you have a tool to test. What I'm saying is very easy. To start, you just need 3 steps. You need to find a domain that makes sense to be tied together. You extract the logic and you put it in your engine. Since you can just move the files, the folders are the same. If you have a model, you can move it to the engine model. And then you defend the boundary. You defend the boundary means that everything in the host app that needs to access something in the engine needs to go through the module method you defined. So the internals of the engine will not be accessible by the host application by any meaning. What I'm saying, and actually looks like this. So you created a new engine. You add the engine in the gem file, and in case you need to have like separate views, like for an admin interface, you mount the engine in the routes, and then in the engine module, you define the method that's gonna expose to the host application your logic. So it's easy. Everything else is discipline to keep the code clean and your projects maintained. I like engines so much that I've built a couple of open source projects. Active Storage Dashboard is a plug-and-play engine you can mount in your application, and will give you a dashboard with all your active storage insights. And ActiveCanvas is very new. It's been out for a couple of months. It's a CMS that is basically allows you to visually build all the pages for your front end. I mean, for the public websites. Because one thing that I hate when I create Rails application is that most of the commits after the application is going for a while are from the marketing team to change either a phrase in the websites or an image or something. So I created something that allows me to change the front-facing pages without needing to redeploy every time. If you're curious, I would love your feedback. Thank you.